A local environmentalist is supporting calls by a former Caribbean diplomat that Dominica should stick to its position on whaling. Former Caribbean diplomat Sir Ronald Saunders recently urged Dominica to keep to its position on the whaling issue. He is of the view that it could back up the country's sound stance and also support Dominica's whale watching industry. However, environmentalist Atherton Marte says Dominica needs to provide leadership on the conservation issues that are raised at the IWC.
The Caribbean, and more particularly Dominica, needs to provide leadership on the conservation issues that are raised at the International Whaling Commission. We have allowed ourselves, unfortunately, to get caught up in the international back and forth with Japan about Japan promising us aid, paying our bills, and then as a result of that, we are selling our vote to Japan. A couple of years ago, we were pleased to note that Dominica decided that it was going to abstain and in fact not participate in the IWC. And that in fact was a very good backup position because it sent a signal that not every small island state in the world was up for grabs and could be bought. But that was just the first step, and we needed to take that several notches. We needed to say, okay, having announced that we are not in support of killing whales, let us announce further that we are in support of things such as establishing whale sanctuaries. We are in support of establishing whale and marine research institutes in the Caribbean. We are in support of developing our human resource pool of marine biologists and other marine-related scientists so that our exclusive economic zone, which makes up the oceans around us, can begin to be more effectively utilized for Dominica's development and for the Caribbean's development. That was the next level to which we had to move. Unfortunately, it appears that what we did 2 years ago was more like public relations, and I'm hoping that if they don't want to listen to us, they will listen to Ron Saunders. Ron Saunders was an experienced international diplomat, can tell you that the small countries of the world are no longer of any use to the larger countries of the world when it comes to diplomacy. And so it is time for us to stand up and play our own card.
Marte says Dominica should propose the establishment of a whale sanctuary in the Caribbean. He says Dominica needs to incorporate the science that France brings to the business of the marine ecology.
And when we take positions at these international organizations, they must clearly be seen to be in our short, medium, and long-term interests. So we must now be seeing Dominica, if we go to this year's IWC in Morocco, we should be proposing the establishment of a whale sanctuary in the Caribbean, stretching from Antigua in the north all the way down to Grenada in the south. France has already taken the lead because they've already declared the waters of Martinique and Guadeloupe to the south and north of Dominica as effective whale sanctuaries. We need to join that. We need to incorporate the science that France brings to the business of the marine ecology into our work on the marine environment. And we need to make it clear that this business of us being named the nature island of the Caribbean, and some believe the nature island of the world, is not a joke. It's not just an idle brand. It's a serious definition of what we as a country stand for. That we believe that while the rest of the world madly rushes towards modernization and build, and in the process is destroying natural systems of water, forest, soil, marine environment that are so vital to human survival, we in Dominica are not going down that road, and we want to send a clear signal that as small as we are, we can provide global leadership. Unfortunately, I don't hear that kind of vision. I don't sense that kind of vision coming from our leadership, and it seems as if we're going to have to wait and see maybe and what happens in Morocco. If we go to Morocco, what will Dominica's position be?
Environmentalist Atherton Marte. Mayor of Portsmouth Errol Hill has resigned, claiming that bad treatment by his superiors and lack of respect as two fundamental reasons. Hill, who served as mayor of Portsmouth for the last 5 years, told Kairifm News that he was just too frustrated to continue in that position.
I feel that the support that is supposed when given to the council in terms of where it's at in its own structure, in its own base. Financially and otherwise, I find it's not there. 2008-09, I requested some assistance from the local government, that is $60,000, to do an assessment of all properties in Portsmouth. They responded that they don't have the cash. Well, obviously, prior to that, in discussion with the council, I told them I would have assisted them with that cash if, in fact, the Prime Minister and the local government were not able, and this is what I did. We are supposed to send in a resolution to that effect, 31st of January, and that was done, and then we never got any response from local government. Finally, we went to Roseau just to check it out, and we found that the resolution that we sent in was just on the shelf, and I find that was very much insultive based on the situation that the council was in, because the whole objective of assisting the council was to actually pay for the expenses which the council was going through at the moment, and at the same time to gain sufficient cash to make the council more self-financially sustainable. Having said that, that wasn't done, so after a whole year passed, they did finally get it through. Now, on what grounds? Was there any changes to the resolution? I did not see it. So I realized that the local government office, basically, as I say, is not really proactive, it's more reactive. For the whole government bureaucracy, it's more reactive and not proactive. Because there are a lot of things which I did, which I did not have to go on air, neither the media, to discuss. I think I have a right as a citizen to do those things, which I actually outline in my account.
Hill says it's also being undermined by political hierarchies and members of the local government.
At the very inauguration of the council, I stated clearly that every time I have to spend in Portsmouth, I want to make sure that I have something to do. And in that essence, I have prepared myself in assisting the council, all right, in order to get itself ready for that matter. And for politicians and whoever that's there to undermine that structure, you know, that doesn't do me well. You know, I feel that I'm under-managed, more or less. I feel that I'm not living up to my true potential. You know, I'm not going to sit around and just watch things happen. Time, people always question, some people who don't understand me always question my time, you know. Time, as I said, is not only quantifying effect, it's also qualitative. If we're going to look at time, how much have you achieved, you know, at a special point in time? You know, there were many mayors before me, and I mean, people said they were lazy, they were this, they were that, nothing was been done. Now, these people actually, they earn a living, really, they get a salary, and that was it. Could they have invested their salary into the council? No. So basically, they could only work on basis of the finances that were there. In my case, I try to use the resources that were in the council in the town and better it so that the council itself becomes more financially self-sustainable. And that's where I'm at. And that has already affected a lot of people, because in essence, I suspect that people don't like change. They like being comfortable where they are. And if they are comfortable where they are, nothing going on, well, you know, this is not my case. So then I think the better thing to do is just to quit the services, and I'll still be there as a councillor, you know, giving my advice and doing what I have to do. But in terms of staying there as, you know, as the chairman or the mayor, I don't think it will worth it much.
Mayor of Portsmouth, Errol Hill. Hill's resignation will take effect as of June 1st, 2010. In more news this morning, the Independent Regulatory Commission, IRC, began a second round of outreach meetings with a visit to Trafalgar next week. The first outreach program took place from June to September in 2009 and began in Dubla. The outreach effort aims to broaden public knowledge of the IRC's role and functions through face-to-face meetings with consumers in their communities. The Trafalgar meeting will take place today at the Trafalgar Community Center from 7 p.m. The outreach program aims to clarify the scope and responsibilities of the IRC as a regulator, as well as seeking valuable feedbacks from consumers around the country. The visits will also allow the IRC to inform consumers of the initiatives which have been undertaken so far and the progress the regulator has made. Senior Counsel Tony Astafan says he's optimistic that the court could rule in government's favor when it goes to court pending legal action by the Dominica Electricity Services DOMLEC. Reports indicate that DOMLEC is seeking $100 million for changes made to the Electricity Supplies Act.
DOMLEC attempted to institute arbitration proceedings. The government filed an application to stop it. We have had an agreement